Oh god, the final wait. Where is it?
2 hours later.
Well, after 10 years, it's finally here. The final shape, and man, have we been hyped for this. I really don't think anything has been as hyped up as this DLC. Maybe Beyond Light's new subclass, but anyway, the final shape has dropped, and this video will be the initial reaction and full review for the DLC from someone that has been playing since the Dark Below, just like the 4 or 5 others that joined during that DLC. Now, obviously, this video will contain spoilers for the final shape, for all of the campaign, cutscenes, story moments, things after the campaign, etc. Along with anything that I found interesting in my initial playthrough. So this has been your more than adequate warning to stay away, as I won't be holding back on anything. First of all, should you go out and get it now? If you are a fan of Destiny already, then yes. If you were thinking of returning, then yes. It is worth your money based on the playthrough, and is a massive step up from Lightfall, and comes much closer to the scope and scale of Witch Queen and Forsaken. The final shape is the final DLC for the first saga of Destiny, being the Light and Darkness saga. It comes directly after the end of Season of the Wish, as the Witness has begun to formulate the final shape, and it is up to us to stop it and save the whole universe from its twisted scheme. You will travel through a linear world, the Pale Heart, that has an abundance of different locations and enemies to fight, ensuring you'll never get bored of just looking around. You'll come across a new enemy faction known as the Dread, wielding darkness powers and posing a significant challenge to your goal. The Witness will taunt and tempt you throughout, offering anything you could want. You'll meet old companions and bring friends back together in a similar way to the vanilla Destiny 2 campaign. It is a good ending, and the campaign leads straight into what comes next, so let's get into that great campaign. Well, after waiting over 2.5 hours for the servers to finally come online, and then all the server issues on day one, the DLC is finally here. Campaign's first mission sees us finally able to travel into the Kaleidoscope Triangle after the Traveller resisted the final shape and saved Earth in the first cutscene. Filled with destroyed architecture and objects from our past, fighting through the Taken sees us get through the portal and into the Pale Heart of the Traveller. This beautiful location inside the heart, and following the corruption of the darkness, brings us to a luscious location with Last City architecture. Getting introduced to the new enemy faction, the Dread, for the first time, and are decent to fight. Getting through the first hard fight lets us get to the place where light and dark combine, and we get Prismatic. The new subclass is great, and it's great that you get to use it fully straight away with a build already done for you. Something I am glad to see Bungie have learnt from Beyond Light and Lightfall about their subclass introductions. But after getting to use it in the old D1 tower and seeing the scale of the Pale Heart, and now we get to meet him.
Hey, he's here! Come on.
Our good friend Cade 6. It's a nice reunion with Nathan Fillion making a triumphant return and learning about how Cade came here and what he has seen. But there are bigger fish to fry, as Crow has gone missing and we need to find him. On our mission to find Crow sees us still seeing the Last City architecture, with us fighting a mix of Dread, Cabal and Taken. It's nice to be in a vast open area, and are simultaneously introduced to a puzzle of sorts, needed to use psionic S's to move a hand around a clock face. Do 3 of them and you get to fight a boss in a cramped environment, keeping you on your toes, but with our new powers, who can stop us? We are then almost immediately thrust into another small enclosure to fight more Cabal and Dread, along with a stasis subjugator. And on Legendary, he is one tough bastard.
Oh my god, those f***ing crystals.
But after defeating them, we're shown a new golden chest with a prismatic reward, giving us new abilities to customise the new subclass. It's great to see that you will get some of the abilities through the campaign and not needed to grind quests every week or strand meditations for everything. But this is where we get our first signs of the Witness's corruption, with these faces in the walls and egregore. The Witness then communes to us in a way you need to hear to understand, as it sounds like wind circling you until he speaks. This is the first sign the Witness is trying to tempt us and corrupt us, but the ghost fights back triumphantly, nearly dying in the process. We then are shown what the Witness has used to try and tempt Crow towards its bidding, making him a king and giving him the admiration of his sister. Luckily, Crow is found in front of one of the veiled statues, who says it's talking to him, bringing him back to the next campsite Cade has set up. Now on a mission to find Ikora, as her ship has crashed and she has gone to meditate. We need to fight the Hive in some dreaming city architecture, getting to use the Aegis and have the mechanic from Prophecy, collecting light and dark motes and activating the corresponding platforms. Yet again, Bungie has made these locations so unique and beautiful, each with their own flair. I also got this brilliant new sidearm as part of the campaign that fires the micro rockets and is strand. It was such a good weapon, I used it throughout the entire playthrough thereafter. In another huge open area with the hive inspired tree of silver wings, we defeat the enemies and find Ikora meditating. Having learned about what's going on, she gives us her hypothesis about the final shape and what the witness is planning to do with the Traveler.
It plans to weaponize that light, reshaping reality outside the Traveler into a perfect stillness. A great silence, never changing, never dying. Imagine your greatest triumph, or your most profound regret. Immortalized as a part of a universe where nothing exists except by the witness's consent.
Never dying. So, are all these statues still alive? At the new campsite, she gets to have a nice heart-to-heart with K6, and now it's time to get Zavala. Now this is a mission where I started to have the most connection issues, as many were having on release day. But anyway, we are now bringing the Fallen into the mix. We are yet again introduced to a new mechanic involving these glyphs dropped by heavy shanks, something maybe in the raid. But this lets us see another veiled statue, with our ghost wondering what they are. Carrying on fighting the Fallen and matching glyphs allows us to progress and open a massive door in this open area. And we see all the hands of the witness, nicely showing us moving closer to the witness as its corruption becomes more prevalent. I'd also like to mention again that these character moments between the Vanguard are all great, really bonding with each other. The arena full of Fallen and the Dread can be quite challenging, especially with the snipers, trip mines and the bombs, but the Tormentor goes down easy enough. The witness then takes the time to tell us about the commander, the suffering he goes through and the grief he feels from his loss, along with his fleeting belief in the Traveler. And wow, that house with the witness smoke looks sick. Fighting the Fallen and a giant brig in the middle of this homestead, fighting alongside my commander as well until they're all gone.
Hey, look who it is! My man.
Now, I got kicked out before seeing the cutscene, but after watching it, it really does make you begin to question Zavala. And also, this was the time where I went off and made a rant video because I was not spending hours just to try and load in. Now the day after and refreshed, it's time for the mission with my favourite location so far, as it is a Cosmodrome wall in a snowstorm, being engulfed by the Vex. The mission is a bit of a filler, mostly parkouring your way through the wall and killing the Vex, using the same symbol mechanics as before, but the star of the show comes towards the end of the mission as we have escaped the wall and are really entering the witness's domain, being more barren, featuring more pyramid architecture, and here, where the ghost picked us up all those years ago, a fissure of pure light energy, giving us the new super ability for the class. This for the Warlock was a lot better than I expected, with the Seeker Grenade being the standout performer and probably the super I would build the Warlock Prismatic around for me. And at the next campfire, Zavala keeps being antagonistic and losing more faith in the Traveler. After communing with the Traveler to get our new light powers, we are on the hunt for more fissures, this time finding them in the lost sectors of the Pale Heart. Each lost sector in this mission is really well made, each with their own mechanics and brilliant locations, and are probably my favourite set of lost sectors in the game. Obviously the first two don't have any pure fissures, but the third one does, and with the help of a Lucent wizard called Lazaku or Lukaku, whatever, we can get to the fissure and get Crow and Cade here. Cutscene is spectacular, showing Cade enter the fissure to commune with the Traveler, meeting his ghost Sundance, moving between different moments of Cade's life, and Sundance mentioning everything in the light is connected, along with learning the Guardian tenets again of devotion, bravery, sacrifice, and before she can say death, she is killed again. It was really great to see these two reunited, as a Guardian and their ghost is the most sacred bond in the universe. The customary strike is next, and it's brilliantly made. It's full of great mechanics with the Iron Cara bones and the lava rising off falling, which makes for intense moments and an enjoyable time. The settings are great as well, with the pyramid system, with the architecture of the witness's home, as it is really old supposedly, sure, and all along the way Zavala getting more and more frustrated with all of us for not going headfirst and straight up attacking the witness. It's such a massive character switch from the calm and collected Zavala, and showing us where Zavala's head is going. It's interesting, although I don't really think it fits him. But back to the actual legendary campaign, and this is where it really starts to kick in, as Zavala has gone missing in an attempt to give himself to the darkness to find answers. These veiled statues are giving us more insight into themselves, and you are always questioning and wondering what these statues have been all this time. We fight more and speak to more statues along the way, telling us to go to the darkness and our answers will be there. We find that there are dissenting voices inside the witness, which, I mean, it does make sense if an entire civilization's consciousness is in one being. The locations in this mission are great, with a plague of the witness and more of this broken architecture. The fighting in the mission is top tier as well, with the wizard section including a tormentor, and in the final area, killing subjugators and using the Aegis on a giant Scorn chieftain. After the chieftain is gone, we rush through the collapsing architecture to finally reach up with Zavala. And this cutscene is certainly one of the best in the DLC so far, with Zavala giving himself to darkness and coming face to face with the witness, finally. Learning about the witness and seeing its origin is incredible and up there with the Witch Queen cutscenes, but a whisper from one of the veiled beings speaks to him about destroying the witness. The witness is made and offers to make Zavala part of it, but Taj steps in to save his guardian and after calling out the witness, sacrifices himself to save Zavala, who is pulled out of the darkness, now mortal.
Oh, wow. Wow, that was good.
We end with the Vanguard together around the campsite, consoling a now mortal Zavala, but we now know a way to possibly unmake the witness, so now it's time to end this. Now is Iconoclasm, and boy is it good. We are at the foot of the witness's monolith, and with our new knowledge we can take on the witness. Now the first time I did this, it messed up after the first encounter, as none of the enemies spawned or voice lines spoken.
Bloody hell, of course my game bugs out.
In a way made this whole area way creepier, as it was these massive empty spaces with no enemies or sounds. But after resetting, I got to actually experience the mission with the boss fights, which are really good, although for the big ogre, the dark blades were hard to find. But I love the witness trying to keep tempting us, and once ascended to the top, we find the Vanguard table. The witness promises to make us a god and not part of the final shape, possibly showing weakness or admiration for our power. Now here is the final boss fight against the witness, but not really. The fight is mostly two bosses, light subjugators with 2 phases each, and using the Aegis to protect yourself from the darkness. The witness is here though, in spirit, but you don't really fight him as he is immune. Now this fight was very hard.
No! No! Oh my god! No!
Not as hard as Callus from Lightfall, I thought, but I did die a few times from the sheer amount of enemies and attacks flying your way. But after each subjugator, you get a new light sword relic to destroy one of the dissenting voices in the witness, reminding me of that final confrontation with Savathun. And after destroying 3 statues, the last stand happens, with us taking the Aegis and escaping with 1 HP. It has a false intensity, as nothing will ever hurt you so long as you have the barrier up. The escape was successful, with the helm bringing us aboard, and in the final 2 cutscenes, the witness seems to be damaged and goes mad, growing to its final form for the raid, and chasing the Vanguard with its giant hands, with them narrowly escaping. Mara then tells us of what is to come, the fight ahead with everyone behind us getting ready for the raid incoming. But after the campaign, honestly, things get better, as there is a lot of nice content to do. Firstly are the exotic quests. After the campaign, you'll be able to do the exotic quests for Ergo Sum, Still Hunt, Microcosm, and the new exotic Kvostov. Each have their own difficulties, but with Ergo Sum it is farmable with random rolls. The Still Hunt is a quest with Crow and Cade, fitting as a hunter main exotic in my opinion, which sees a great dynamic between them, ending with Crow becoming the new Hunter Vanguard. Finally, like it's been 6 years, but Kvostov's quest is the most annoying thing this DLC has to offer, having to get motes of light from enemies in overthrow. And for the life of me, I cannot get this fat meatball kofta or whatever to spawn. I've tried for like 8 hours and still no luck. It's the last mote of light I need as of writing this. The Queen's quest see you in the Pale Heart, trying to find out what Savathun is doing here and what her motives are, with some nice dialogue between her and Mara, possibly setting up another confrontation between the two of them. The Hollow quest is all about tracking down an old friend of Mithrax, who has a bit of history with him, finding him on Europa and guiding Shanks to explode doors. Finally get him and a giant brig to crush him to death. Home features a Cabal, as you fight alongside Keitel, destroying Cabal generators around the map to stop the still around Shadow Legion. Furthermore, there are quests from Micah Richards to find ghosts and bring them back to the tower. These quests are how you unlock the Pale Heart weapon set and how you access the Cyst, which are 6 sort of lost sexes. each with a unique mechanic, whether it be using swords only or being weighed down by darkness permanently. They are fun to do once, but that's about it. A lot of the prismatic fragments are still required and are now available in the open world. Some are easy and just a chest, some need memories that are gathered from either cysts for the light ones or these bramble covered chests for the darkness ones. But then, the last few actually require a mini challenge to be completed. I especially love the filling of the charge tanks with solar arc and void charges and needed to actually get the right amount. There is also a whole bunch of other things to do and see, like the overthrow public events that guarantee an ergo sum when completed, pathfinders for rewards and an ergo sum, and traveller statues to find that give some great insight into what is happening with the traveller. After watching a nearly 19-hour long raid race, the raid for the DLC Salvation's Edge looks absolutely incredible and actually beating the time for Last Wish by 8 minutes. It was such a great watch over those 2 days with so many teams trying to get that W. It has everything a good raid needs. Excellent puzzles, which are very difficult bosses with mechanics, and to me at least it has the coolest final boss of all time, being this massive towering witness with a circle of hands surrounding him. Finally, seeing the witness in all its glory. I cannot wait to actually jump in myself and challenge myself with this new Guardian Padawan that I'm teaching. But after Parabellum sent the witness pack in, they opened up for the first time ever a 12-man activity for the Guardians, with an excellent cutscene and is certainly one of the best ever in the franchise, with Keith David showing why he is a worthy successor to our commander Lance Reddick, even though Lance would have been better. Now, this was rumoured months and months ago, and to finally see it is great. It pits the 12 of you with undoing the witness, by imbuing yourselves with darkness and destroying all of the statues that made up the witness, then hopping up for DPS. It is a great moment and shows Bungie really wanted everyone to have that feeling of defeating the witness once and for all, as most players don't actually do raids. But then comes a somber moment as we channel the light through our ghost, destroying the witness once and for all. The next 10 minutes or so are just incredible, that you really need to experience yourself, as it's about 10 minutes worth of cutscenes, but it's such a satisfying ending and a great setup nicely of what is to come, and leaves you here looking at the Traveller still open for business. Now let's move on to the character of the Witness. Was it a good villain, and does it really feel as threatening as we all hoped? Well, to me, in the campaign, no. In the campaign, the Witness just does not seem powerful. Sure, it has terraformed the land and can send these armies, but you go back to the opening cutscene of Lightfall, and with the swipe of his finger, 3 Guardians and Ghosts were just sliced apart, and you just don't see that kind of power in this campaign. The final battle with the Witness was meant to be the moment we see this power, but he has basically one attack. He just wasn't intimidating in the campaign for me as the most powerful being in the universe. But the moment where he speaks to us and tries to tempt us is really well done with the sound design, and shows how the Witness corrupts by promising everything to get beings on its side. It's a great voice, and the calmness of the Witness does show power, but in that final cutscene with the Witness growing and chasing the Vanguard with its arms is great, and leads nicely into the raid, where we can see the true scale of the Witness and what made Callus so scared in Lightfall. And by God, that first time seeing the Witness in that day 1 raid race was just like seeing Oryx for the first time. He becomes really imposing and powerful, especially with it being such a difficult boss fight with day 1 as well. The Witness in the raid was a massive improvement from the one in the campaign, not to mention the 12-man activity being the same big Witness. The dread of the new enemy race in the game, finally a whole new race for the first time in the franchise's history. The Tormentor was the first one of these new dread released back in Lightfall, but is now accompanied by a few of his friends. The Grim/Gunbat, 2 Scion combatants that use darkness powers, Husks that, if killed improperly, will release a seeking Geist to hunt you down, and then the 2 new boss enemies, the Subjugators, one using stasis and the other using strand. These do pose a nice challenge and something new for us to face. The Grim especially are nice as a flying enemy for the first time, but the Scion duo and the Subjugators are easily the standouts, as they use darkness abilities which can freeze you, suspend you, or drag you closer, making it even more important to be vigilant about the attacks that are being thrown your way, especially on legendary difficulty, as those Subjugators are damn hard. The standout feature of the DLC is the incredibly fascinating Prismatic subclass that no one saw coming. So how is it, and has it completely overtaken every other subclass? Well, it's quite early on, and I'm glad to say it's easy to get everything, but from first impressions on a Warlock, it is mighty fun, especially the new Solar Super, which is the one I have liked the most with the subclass. The aspects have a nice selection, sticking mostly to Bleak Watcher and Feed the Void for Devour and My Stasis turret. It is so fun and exciting, but obviously it has its shortcomings with not every single super aspects of fragments, so there will be times that having a pure solar subclass is preferred, especially as us Warlocks have well Irradiance, but the Prismatic subclass is a great addition, and it will be so fun to have so many different builds that can be meta. The exotics of the final shape are a nice selection that I'm sure will become a lot of players' favourites. The first new exotic for Mene, if you have the Season Pass, will be the new but old Red Death Reformed, a classic from the good old days, even though Crimson exists. But this new Red Death is actually really good, granting cure on kills along with you and your team after reloading after a kill, and also granting some stats for dealing damage. It was really fun to use for easy content so far, but with the new Solar Affinity, it is one that I want to use more as a Sunshot fan. It fits right in. The Ergo Sum is such a unique weapon, being a sword that uses secondary ammo, I know, so you can use dual swords, something I guess. It's best with Prismatic as it increases light and dark mastery and does more damage when transcendent. Not to mention its main perk that as you get stacks of gathering light, that when the weapon is stowed away, it grants ability energy based on kills. And it's the sword that was on our grave in the Corridors of Time. Still Hunt is probably my favourite exotic so far in the final shape, being the incredibly fun Golden Gun Sniper. It's super easy to use, get precision hits or gathering orbs, fills up a meter that you can activate to go into Golden Gun mode. That is what it says on the tin. It can even be affected by Celestial Nighthawk that as a Warlock main is tempting me over to Hunter again. The Microcosm is acquired from the Convalescence quest, and Kvosov is quite an annoyance as I've already said, needed to get 17 motes of light, and this stupid boss on Overthrow won't spawn for it. I also chose the Warlock chess piece Mata Eodoxia from the legendary campaign rewards and have been loving it on the Prismatic subclass with Threaded Needle. It is so good for crowd control, and on Prismatic is a definite pick for us Warlocks. Now just needs to find one with good stats. Now the big question after this monster of a DLC is of course, where does Destiny go now? What is the future? Well, we have 3 confirmed episodes this year as the seasonal content, which okay is good and all, with a better season pass and acts throughout. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it works. But like all franchises, when do you defeat the biggest possible challenge? Where do you go from there? Marvel has had this issue since Endgame. This is all speculation, but I genuinely believe a new game is coming, and maybe that's blind hope, but I think there needs to be a big refresh of this universe, whatever that may be. There is a new saga coming, and I want this franchise to continue, but they should do something very out there. Maybe a time jump into the future to be something really different. I really don't know. But I'm both optimistic and worried about the future as we beat the Witness. What else is there to do that would be any kind of engaging challenge? Like, I also think that we'll travel outside the solar system at some point. Maybe to the home worlds of the races we've faced, and maybe even the Witness's home world. Maybe that's the origin of the Traveller. But for now, let's enjoy where we are. This DLC is by no shadow of a doubt a pure masterclass, and it's Bungie at its best, with what I'm calling the best expansion in the franchise of Destiny. It is near perfect, with the best location in the franchise, with the greatest diversity of locations ever. To me, some of the best weapons from a destination, an incredible selection of exotics, with Still Hunt and Red Death becoming immediate favourites, one of the best raids of all time that lead to a 12-man activity that lets everyone be a part of the Witness's destruction. The characters and emotional moments between them all, the voice acting, a whole new subclass that mixes light and dark, the first new enemy race, and so much more. It has revitalised the series and brought me somewhat back to the game after a year of barely playing it. It is a DLC that feels the most like a complete video game, and as someone who began playing on the 2nd of May 2015, just over 9 years ago, it has been the most epic journey of my gaming life, and to see it in this epic finale, I would not have had it any other way. It is a DLC that will define Destiny as a franchise from now on, and thank you Bungie. Thank you for this journey, from outside the Cosmodrome walls, fighting Fallen to the Pale Heart, ending the Architect of the Collapse and Scourge of 1,000 Worlds, The Witness. Yes! Thank you, Commander.
My commander! Yes! Come on!